Hello and thanks for joining me. In this video I'm going to show you a production use of the animated virtual camera rig. Hello and thanks for joining me for this tutorial. My name is Kim. I am a 15-year veteran of the animation industry working on TV series and films as both an animator and a previs artist. In this tutorial I'm going to take a look at an actual scene and with a complex camera move that I want to put into it. And I'm going to show how I go about using my particular rig to achieve a nice smooth camera move to go with complex action. So let's get into it. So the first thing to do with any shot is assess the move that you're going to be doing. The animation that I've chosen to work with is of a character as he goes in here and just rolls over the table, shooting as he goes. It's a real dynamic move, so I want to make sure that I've got a dynamic camera that goes with it. It's really complex, and it can be really complex, or I could make it really simple. Like looking at this in particular, we can go around the set itself and we could look at different shots when you're trying to look at it. We could look at being really close in on him as he goes over the table. We could be looking at him as he rolls onto the table and over the table. The first thing I always do is just explore a little bit. If you haven't got any boards to work off of, it's always good to just explore the shot and what the action is, or where it could be, and how to best utilize the action you've got, or to tell the story of what's going on. We could be in behind him. We could split this up into many different shots. The best thing about actually being in previs at the start is being able to explore. Sometimes you don't get that luxury of exploring. Sometimes you'll be given storyboards and they'll say stick to the storyboards and that's what we need. But sometimes you do get action and it's like, okay, the director will give you I just want to capture this out of the scene, and you get to explore it with your camera, and they're the shots which you kind of geek out about and go, oh, I'm so excited. And this was one of those shots. But for this action, I really loved it. I wanted to explore the action looking down from on top of him as he rolls over and does his big table roll. I thought that looked pretty cool. So as I mentioned before, make sure that with your camera you just actually import them in. So I've imported in my camera and I've got it in here to have a look at. There it is. It sits in here. Now there's a couple of ways you could do this. You could actually just have the camera hanging down on him and go across with him, in which case you could do, the first thing is make sure that you've got your Maya scene set up so you can see what's going on. I've got my camera. I like to have two viewports. Most of the time I like to have my outliner in the scene as well. So I've got my outliner on one side. I've got which now is really handy that you can just double click on it. It folds away, so it's always there. But the same thing with the graph editor as well. I can just fold it down. I really like that now. And I can see my scene here and I can see what my camera is looking at. Inside my rig, I also have, when I select my curve for my rig, one quick shortcut, if you can set it up, is to have that. For me, I like to have that root controller bound to a hotkey because I'm always looking for that root controller. And if I don't want to go searching through the outliner, I can just bind it to a hotkey, click the hotkey, and then I'll have that root control. But on the root control, I've also got my depth of field, which I can turn on and off. I've also got my focal length, which is also very handy to be able to have quick access to. If the director has a certain selection of lenses which he likes, you can have it so that you can have a quick selector to those lenses as well. In this case, I'm exploring, so I like my selection of lens lengths, which I go for as well. I usually like starting off with a 50, an 80, and a 120. They're just my favorite lenses, which I usually go for. So I'm gonna have a look through this. And what I'm going to do with this particular shot is I'm going to have the camera actually roll over with him, looking down on him. So it's actually quite a lovely move to go with him Probably skew it a little bit as well so that it's not a straightforward move as just a straight track. Because it's such a wild action, I might like to be down on top of him, a little bit skewed so that the table kind of frames him as well. So let's have a look at that from inside the camera. So from the camera rig, I'm going to place my camera rig probably right in the middle of the shot where we're looking down at him, so find out where the character is. And I'm going to start off by putting my camera root control, so basically the tripod root, down on him. And I'm probably going to want to put it in the center of his chest, just because that's the main thing of action is his chest and his guns. You're either going to be following his head and trying to keep his head in the center of the shot, or you're going to be following his chest as his chest goes through the shot. So I'm going to put this one in his chest to start off with. I'm also going to rotate the camera too. So I'm going to want to rotate it so that the camera is facing downwards and looking down on him. So let's show cameras so I can see my camera too. I've got my fulcrum also on display too, which is often hard to find inside cameras. So I've got my camera rig set up to have the fulcrum displayed straight away. That's my root control. I want to be able to select the camera, focus down here on the root. The frustum is usually hidden away in one of the controls. Sometimes you like to have it set invisible. Sometimes you can have it turned off. Depending on what show I'm working on, sometimes I like to have that toggle switch put on my control as well, so that I can just toggle it on and off from the root control. In this particular scene, I don't have it in my root control, but I'm going to want my camera to be looking down on him. So that's just a straight minus 90 degrees because I want it to be directly down. And I'm also going to want to turn it so it can rotate with him. He's rotating through that shot that way. So I'm going to want my camera to be square and aligned perfectly with his rotation. And from there, I'm then going to grab the controller above that and move it as far away. So all I need out of this one's polygons. I'm going to grab that second control and just pull it away. This is the main control for setting up what it looks like. I think my camera's wrong. Let's go back to a 50 because I want to see what he looks like as a 50. And does he look good? How much of the scene does he fill up? How much of the shot does he fill up with the action as he goes through? So, test it out. I like testing it out all the time. I like these angles we've got in here now from the table. I think the table looks pretty good, but we might be a little bit high within the table doesn't quite seem to fit. So I might pull it down this way a little bit so that the table's angles are a little bit more in the shot, which means I'm going to have to rotate a little bit because his head is not in the shot anymore. So from there, I pull this up this way so I can see his head. So I don't think I'm going to get the exact angle that I want of the tables, but I want to get the character, his head in that top third as he rolls through. Because that's what I want to see. I want to see this. So this is my key frame basically throughout the shot. I want to make sure that this key frame here, he's dead center. I want to make sure that my focal control is down on him at this point so that I can see him. Just show locators 2. I usually have this set up on a hotkey so that is easy to see, but I want my focus to be down on him as he rolls through this shot. There he is. So there's 2 actions I'm going to want on this. The first one is the camera traveling with him in a direction, and then I also want it to rotate over him as well. just because I want to make this super hard. So the first one's a direction. Now there's two ways I can do this. If I go to this particular control here, I can just then move this in one direction. But it's also going to mean that my rotation is then going to be off center or from a pivot. So I'm going to grab his pivot and I'm going to make this look ugly in the graph editor. Put it there, and I want to make sure that that is actually there at that point. So I need to set a key there because that's my keyframe. And so I do want him to roll out of shot, but I do want my camera moving. Oops, back here. I just want to keyframe them to start off with. I'm going to want to keyframe that. So he's just fallen out of frame. And then I'm going to want to see what that looks like and just continue a nice smooth action. I'm just going to go pre-infinity linear and curve. I want to view it. So I'm going to want to view infinity too. So that I've got the same action all the way through, the same speed. The next thing is the rotation on top of that. So I start building it up. So I've got to move from the camera that goes through one linear action and is rolling through. The next one is the rotation. Now I want the pivot of the rotation to be from down here. So I can grab this one, break that, break connections, and I can put my rotate Y, and it is just that one Y direction we're going to rotate around. There, as he rotates over the table, and I push Y until I think that looks good over that way. So we're going to rotate over top of him as well. Usually on first pass when I'm working, I work in stepped keys. So this would normally come up step keys, but since this is an action shot, I want it to be smooth. So I'm putting the keys to linear so that they go through. Make that big so we can see what's going on. So now while this is good, it doesn't really feel that tight on him or that dynamic. I mean, this is nice. The move itself's nice. It's smooth. He's coming in on a nice third on that side. He's rolling through the middle and he's ending off just on the third, over the third on the other side. So he's got in and out points to get in and out, but it's not that tight. I want to see it tighter. I like it tight. So let's, especially with a dynamic move, so let's go to an 80. And from that 80, I'm also then going to go back and want to push it a bit further away. But I still want that, but I want to keep that same move. This is where having that camera rig's really handy, because I've got the same action and the action is following the character through the shot. But now he's a lot bigger in shot, and I've been able to adjust the camera lens to look at what he looks like through the shot, and as well as pull it away a little bit because the lens made him too close. But I've still been able to keep the action through. And this is part of experimenting. And you know what? This here, if you look at this, he's dead straight. You know, it's not that dynamic seeing him dead straight within the shot. So let's go through and do something else, which is give this a little bit of a rotation to him. So he looks a little bit more dynamic, still in the center of the shot, but now he's got a dynamic roll happening through here. Now the things I'm not liking too much about this is as far as I'm going to take it through here, you can see that I've been able to set up the base movement on my root control and my root positions. So they've got keyframes on that, which when we look in the graph editor, there's only two particular things which I'll be animating if I want to. I can animate direction, so he's got his curve, for direction, for translation, and he's got on another controller, he's got his curve for his rotation, which for me that makes sense when I want to edit it. If I want to edit the rotation further, I grab that control and I can just move in the graph editor. I go, I want less rotation. So I can just actually visualize it through here. I can try it out and visualize it as I go through my rotation. The other thing I've got is you've been able to see me moving my second control to then refine the position afterwards. So I can refine my position of the camera as I go and change the lens. I can pick a better position further away or closer up to be able to edit this shot. I've also been able to add a little bit of dynamics with this extra control right down the bottom here, with just adding a little bit of rotation to give the character a little bit of dynamic action pose through here, so he's not dead flat within the shot. I've been able to keep center and thirds. I'm still not quite happy with where he starts. I'd say I want a few more frames at the start here, please, Mr. Director, so he can roll in. There we go, and roll out a shot. So I'm not happy with 50. I like him coming in at 45. So that gives the editor then somewhere to cut point. So he's got a clean frame at the start, clean frame at the end. Character is in and out. Whether he uses them or not, that's not my call. But I'll give it to them from a previous point of view so they can edit those points in and out. And that is then my shot. Nice dynamic shot, camera's moving smoothly all the way through it. If you wanted, you could also then put a little bit of a wiggle on it as he hits the table, so you actually have a little bit of stutter to make it feel like there's movement going on. You could put some shutter in it, but for a base camera move to then push through the pipe for review, this is as far as I'd go. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I love working with cameras. I love telling stories through cameras. So if you've got something out of this, leave it a like, share it around, and until the next time, I'll say bye-bye.